I have such a fun process video for you today, so I can't wait to get started. For the second prompt in the Unexpected Inspiration Challenge series, Sara Scraps and I are challenging you to create a layout inspired by games. So the game that I've chosen today is Memory. When I was a little kid, my mom told me that once in a while she would cheat so that I wouldn't win every time. She said she didn't want me to become a bad loser. And I thought I might scrapbook about that. But then I remembered that my friend April and I went shopping together and we both bought the exact same dress. And we have a picture of us wearing it. Actually, we bought the same leggings too. So apparently we have very matching styles. And so I thought it would be really fun to make a page with these matching photos of us. So I found this great paper, and it's funny, it actually really matches the color of the roses on my desktop. But I really liked the pattern of it. And I thought, well, let's make it look like the little memory tiles. You know, those little chipboard tiles that you would match. You turn them over, and there's a pair of shoes on one, and there's a flower on another one. And I can't even remember what all the little icons were, but I used to love playing this game, and I just thought this was a really fun paper for this. Now, I will tell you, this paper almost became a regret because keeping all of those little lines lined up was a bit of a challenge. I actually created almost like a grid, like battleship, honestly, in order to keep them all in the right order. And then I really had to lean into my rulers and just to keep all of those vertical lines and horizontal lines from the different colors in those little squares all perfectly lined up because I thought otherwise it's going to look pretty wonky. So if you're doing something like this and you don't want to take the time to line them all up, maybe don't pick a paper with all of those lines on it because that was a bit of an extra challenge. Or maybe it's very helpful because you actually have lines that you can line up with a ruler. So, however you choose to look at that. I thought that this layout was going to be super fast. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to make all of these little squares for the background. It's going to be so easy. But I will tell you, it took me a long time to get them all prepped and lined up and taped down exactly right. So I guess I'm just not that fast of a scrapbooker, or I really underestimate how long things are going to take. I think it was maybe an hour and 15 minutes that it took to do all of this, but for some reason, I thought it was going to be much faster. And you'll see that I actually have a couple of rulers out, including a T-square ruler. That's the one over on the left. And having a T-square ruler as a scrapbooker is a game changer because you can line it up at the top of your page and line up every little line perfectly. It sits so straight. And that was just amazing. So, if you don't have a T square ruler, pop over to Amazon, look up T square ruler or clear T square ruler. I got a set of two or three of them for, I don't know, less than $10 or something. They were cheap. And it is one of the best things. So, shout out to my friend Beth Branning who hooked me up with this idea. And where was it my whole life? Seriously. So I really liked how I was able to draw from a couple of different parts of inspiration from a memory board as I create this layout. Obviously, the little rounded corners on these squares look like those little chipboard tiles that you flip over in the memory game, but also the fact that we're wearing matching outfits. I'm able to talk about the whole matching part of the memory game. And then later on, I actually add some little flowers to the layout, and that also draws into the little graphics and icons that you see in a memory game. And I thought it was just a really great source of inspiration when you're turning an idea like a game into something that translates into a scrapbook page because it's not really about the game, it's just inspired by the game. And this is a great way to make that happen. I did play around with some pattern paper to see if that would look good in my matting layers and if I wanted to add more florals or more bits of paper to this. But when I looked at it, it just felt like it was getting too busy, and I really wanted these simplistic elements to really have the chance to shine. So I found some blue cardstock that matched our dresses perfectly. And when I found the cardstock, I also found these little die cuts with all of the flowers on it. And I thought, oh, well, that's just perfect. They're a perfect match. And then taking the some of the cardstock, I was able to create my own title. Now, I'll admit that sometimes I'm pretty lazy when it comes to titles. Cutting out my own title can feel like a big job. Now, these letters are actually from scrapbook.com, these die cut letters, and they're really large and easy to pop out of the backgrounds. And I think that because they're so simplistic, they're a really good standard basic, like a basic set of letters. Let me see if I can find the name and I'll include that in here. Okay, these are the decorative die set bold basic alphabet upper and lower letters, and they are the scrapbook.com brand. Now, at the time of this recording, they are on sale for $29.99 instead of $75 for the two sets. So I would go and check it out and see what you can find. I'll include the link with my affiliate link. Thank you so much for clicking it, and I'll include that underneath this video. So you'll notice that I grabbed my corner rounder and I rounded the corners of the photo of me and my friend April together. I also did the same on the little journaling piece as well. Of course, I had already stuck down the photo to its little matte background before I decided that I was going to round those corners. So maybe plan that out before you stick everything down. That's a really good tip. Now, I have this little blue flower that matches the blues so perfectly, but it was just too big. And I noticed that with a couple of the flowers. They were just a little bit too big. So I actually trimmed them down a little bit and they look so much better because they're a lot more uniform with the size of the other flowers. So there's another tip for you. Go ahead and cut up the die cuts that you receive in your kits. In fact, that little yellow flower that is up in the top right corner, it had a white border. Now, why would the designer do that? Okay, let's just go off on a tangent for a second. Here's my rant of the day. If you're designing die cuts and they all come with no white border edge, and then you put one or two pieces with a white border edge in that kit, I am not going to be happy. Like, that is just super annoying. Please leave a comment and tell me, does that kind of stuff bother you too? Or am I over here overthinking things all the time? Like, that's actually really true, but I still think that it's a major flaw. When you're designing white borders, yes, white borders, no, but not both, okay? Like, note to all designers, not both. So we're coming to the end of this layout. I really think that it's very simplistic. It has just a few little details, but I think the details are just perfect. And I love that you can actually see another match on the page, not just our little matching outfits, but those little white flowers are also a match. And I thought that was really great too. So I loved the way this layout turned out, and this unexpected inspiration challenge is just so inspiring to me, which shouldn't be very unexpected at all, I guess. So what game would you draw inspiration from? Sara Scraps actually used two different sources of inspiration. One of them was based on hide and seek, so brilliant. And then she also did one inspired by dominoes. And when I saw her page, I was like, Sara, that is so shocking because when I thought dominoes, I was thinking black and white with polka dots. And no, she totally did this totally different idea. And I was like, oh, that is so cool. The way that we can all take that inspiration and interpret it in different ways. It's just so good. If you missed the first one of this series, I have the page that I made inspired by a book cover, so I'll link that so that you can go and check it out. But also, you might want to consider joining Sara Scraps' community here on YouTube, as she is sharing her layout, her process videos just for her members. And also, the whole challenge is running within the ScrapHappy community. So you can come over to ScrapHappy, scraphappy.org, and check out all the fun that we're having with this new Unexpected Inspiration Challenge series. Until next time, happy scrapping!